Hi, just making a video to kind of explain this game, this demo that I just released. This is not scripted, so bear with me. I will probably stumble a lot. Um, so basically, this game is trying to be somewhere in between a 2D fighting game and a 3D action game. In that it's kind of both. Right now, there's only PvP. But eventually I do want to have modes that are geared towards single player, like more of an action game like Bloody Palace mode. But for right now, it's just an arena fighting game. You can see that you can move around freely like a normal action game, but if you hold lock on and hold back, you can block. Lock on is also used for other inputs, much like Devil May Cry. You can enemy step, much like Devil May Cry. You can combo almost anything into almost anything else. There are light, medium, heavy buttons, but you can string them together however you wish. The exception is that there are light combos, which are just 3 hits. There, that was a light combo, and then one in the air is just... Oh, messed that up. And that. Minus the launcher. So there are a bunch of moves here. You can see them on this list. With various different functions. So I guess I could just go over them one by one. So you already saw the light combo. There's medium, which is just an elbow. Not that different from the first hit, except that it scales better. There is damage scaling and stun scaling. Oh yeah, I guess that's something important to talk about. To sort of balance the combo freedom in this game, well, you see here how in the top left corner is the 6+4. The +4 means that after the 6 hit, your opponent could have teched. They could have gotten out of that combo. So stun scaling is basically the more hits you do, the more quickly your opponent will be able to tech out. If I can just demonstrate a tech, that was a tech. Teching is a little different whether you do it on the air or on the ground. You can always tech after you land, but if I can time this right, it's hard to control 2 characters at once. I do have this set to... Yes, I do have it set to player 2 control. I'm sorry. There we go. You can tech forward. You can actually tech in any direction, but that was a neutral tech. I'm not going to show you every direction just because that would take too long. So much like a fighting game, there are throws, which are not blockable. You cannot throw an enemy that is in hit stun or block stun. So that and... Well, because blocking is directional, you can cross up too, you know, if your opponent's blocking in the wrong direction, you can cross them up. Or you can, you know, just run around them like that. I'm a little concerned about how that'll work. You know, I'll have to see how it plays out when people actually play it. Because it's very easy to cross someone up in this game. Oh yeah, that was faultless defense. Just hold 2 attack buttons while blocking. Slowly drains meter, as you can see. No chip damage. More pushback. So, you know, if you're being pressured, you can hold this, and you notice there's more pushback off of that when you're using faultless defense. You can, you know, get them away from you a little bit. A lot to go over right now. I'm not sure exactly what order to go in. Counter hits are a thing. Like, if I... Let's see. hard to see, but if you hit an opponent while they're trying to attack you, or while they're in an attack animation, in a non-cancelable part of an attack animation, that counts as a counter hit. It does extra damage, extra hit stop, extra stun. One move in particular actually gets some different properties on counter hit. This move becomes, if I can just, that. It also wall bounces if you're close enough to a wall. Like that, and you can combo off of it. And there's this line that she says every time she gets that counter hit. That very specific counter hit. Which is a reference to the show, Symphogear, which this is based off. I'm sure you can tell that she's singing along with the music. That is a thing that I worked very hard on. I also have hitboxes on right now. That's the thing that you can do in training mode. You can actually have it on in every mode if you want to. But it's just helpful for some things. A lot of things are, really not done, like especially some hitbox data. Various things. This move has super armor, so it just has a really long startup, but if... that's not what I meant to do. That's also not what I meant to do. So I just armored through those hits, and they still took damage. Super armor hits do count as counter hits, but they also reduce the damage, so you actually take less damage than you would have taken with a normal hit. There's like a limited amount of hits for super armor. Like I think this move has 5 hits of super armor. I believe this move has 2 hits of super armor, but it does a lot of hits. So if those 2 moves meet each other, this one is going to win. What else is there? Yeah, that was a throw. I kind of went over throws. Oh yeah, inputs, I think I went over, work like DMC. So you have her light combo, her air light combo, medium, or ground medium and air medium. This launches actually. So that's your air launcher. This has a wall bounce. She has hammer, from DMC3, hammer, which also has a ground bounce. She has dive kick, which is a forward medium. She also has a caliber input, which is also a DMC thing, which is back to forward, like hold lock on, hold the stick back and then forward, and then press the button. So she has a few of those, like this move, which is kind of a leap. That's back to forward light. Forward light is this kind of smaller jumping kick, which is the same animation as the third hit of her light string, except that it has a slightly longer startup because you can use it by itself. She has a projectile, which is back heavy, but it's also, like, if you just press back heavy and then go to neutral, she'll aim it up diagonally, hold back and she'll aim it directly up, forward goes forward. The air version of that will always shoot down. I already went over the drill. There's actually 2 versions of the drill. This one goes up, and this one goes down, depending on whether you're using it on the ground or in the air. This kind of burst-looking move, which is just basically a big radial hitbox. This is actually her... On her S button, I'm calling it Symphonic button, or Special button, whatever you want to call it. It's S. Light, medium, heavy, S. Those are her 4 attack buttons. The air version of that You see me use that a lot. It's basically her Helmbreaker, but it's also kind of like real impact. The back version of that is a counter. And so back S is... She kind of does the Goku 1-inch punch, except it's a counter. And, you know, that collapses them. It's a lot of stuns, so you have a lot of time to combo into something else. So different things have different amounts of damage and stun scaling depending on what you start the combo with, or, you know, whether they're used mid-combo. Certain things like light punch or throws or counters, those have extra scaling because, yeah, those are basically an easy way to start a combo in a lot of cases. Speaking of throws, she does have a command throw, which is, you know, a suplex. It's only on the ground, but it is throw invincible. Also, I should mention throws, like a normal throw or just throws in general. You can't use it on an opponent. If you're in the air, you can only grab airborne opponents. If you're on the ground, you can only grab grounded opponents. That's kind of a general fighting game thing. But the startup of the suplex is fully throw invincible, so it's a good counter if you think your opponent is going to throw. But the startup is long, so it's punishable. Also on whiff, it's pretty punishable. So that time before I started blocking there, that's how long the recovery is. Very punishable. So you don't want to use it out of nowhere. Or just, you know, you don't want to be spamming it. What else? She has her supers. Her first super uses 50% meter. It's this rocket punch. It's very easy to combo into because of how fast it moves. Like, I can even combo off of this with it. It's really good in that regard. You can use it in the air too. Oh, just gonna taunt right now to replenish my meter because that's a thing. You get a little bit of meter, like really early in the taunt, but if you let most of the whole thing play out, then you get like half a bar of meter off of it. Which, if your opponent is being aggressive, that should never happen, but it's a thing you can do. You can use the super in the air. She has a grounded uppercut in addition to the one that goes up, basically Beast Uppercut and Rising Dragon. And those are back light and back medium. She has basically a stinger. And the heavy stinger, which I also mentioned, which also crosses up and launches. This is the one that has super armor. What else is there to talk about? There is her really big super, which costs... Oh yeah, I guess I could talk about burst. So burst is a thing. Because I'm in training mode, my bursts will always replenish, but... you get a gold burst. So let me just burn all of my meter with RC. Did I talk about RC? I don't know if I talked about RC. Or Roman Cancel, or as I'm calling it, Symphonic Cancel. Yeah, you get that slowdown effect, and you can cancel most things with it. So that's really good. It costs 25% meter if you use it in neutral. If you use it during a non-cancelable part of an attack, it costs 50% meter. So if you burst, specifically if you gold burst, oh, that wasn't a burst, you get meter. Well, if the burst connects, you get meter. You actually get 100% meter off of that if you get a raw gold burst. On the other hand, if you combo into it, you only get half meter. So, and it's bursting is risky. You know, bursts are very baitable, punishable. It's hit invincible, but not throw invincible. And you know, it has recovery time. That time between using the burst and the dive kick, that's how long the recovery on that is. On the other hand, you can burst while in stun, and that's a blue burst. And the blue burst, gold burst is it's a Guilty Gear thing. You don't get any meter off of that, but it gets you out of hit stun. So it's a bursting. If I can turn off the burst regeneration, you can see that burst. I mean, you regenerate burst by hitting things and getting hit. You actually get more when you're hit than when you're hitting something. Because it's kind of, you know, like a get out of combo free card, except it's not free. So it's something you might want to use as a comeback. So that's just two different ways that you can use it, two very different bursts with different utilities. But those are the options available. What else is there? Oh yes, she has an air taunt, I forgot to mention. Which is basically, if you play DMC5, it's the Gerbera GP01 air neutral, which it's a fast fall. It technically has a hitbox, like it's right above her. It's kind of hard to see because it's really fast, but... Oh yeah, she actually has two versions of it, depending on whether you're holding a direction. We can just get a hit off of it. See, it can hit things. It's not really good for hitting things because it's mainly a movement tool, but you can hit things with it. I'm probably forgetting a bunch of things. Oh yeah, her big super, which also uses burst. So she has two supers. The one I showed earlier, the Rocket Punch, and then she also has the S2CA. I worked really hard on that. Some people have noticed that the timer still counts down. Well, there's no timer right now because I'm in training mode, but if I go into like any other mode, there is a timer. And some people have noticed that... oh, kind of hard to do right now because I don't have meter, but... basically, the timer will continue to count down during supers and cutscenes and such, which is probably not a good thing. I will eventually make cutscenes pause the timer, but I just hadn't done that yet for this demo. So that's on the to-do list. Let's see, what else am I missing? I think I went over all her moves. Went over that. I'm probably missing something. Or maybe not. Yeah, I did mention the 1-inch punch, and... Okay, so yeah, I guess that's her full moveset. Oh yeah, there are macros for things. So the controls for a lot of things are like... a lot of things use multi-button inputs. Dodging is jump plus any attack button other than special. Throwing are any two attack buttons besides special. Some inputs, like the suplex, are like a directional input with throw. So I can like press lock on forward and light medium, and you'll get the suplex. The cancel is it's special plus jump. If I can, I don't have meter. The the burst is special and any attack button, any other attack button, I should say. But say those are the various inputs that this game has. A lot of other things. Jump canceling is a thing, or enemy step. It's a DMC thing. I forget if I talked about how the combo proration system works. I'm sorry if I already did. This is like my third take. But you notice how oh yeah, you can still rotate the camera while you're paused. But notice how there's that 6+1. The +1 means that after the 6th hit, the enemy could have countered, which is basically, and that repeat means that you use the same move more than once in a combo. That causes more damage proration and more stun proration, which means they take less damage and they can get out of the combo sooner. Teching is not perfect though, because you are still throw vulnerable out of a tech, so if your opponent baits you into it, you can still get thrown. Like if they read that, if they think you're gonna do it, then they can preemptively go in for a throw if they think you're gonna tech. On the other hand, you cannot throw an opponent that isn't hit stun or block stun, so they might whiff it if you don't tech. So, you know, there are reasons not to tech. And that's in the air. The ground is a little bit different. You're still throw vulnerable. You are briefly hit invincible, but you can, after you land, you are completely vulnerable for a short time. So that's a bit of a trade-off with, basically if you don't do a ground tech, you can be OTG'd, or off the ground, fighting game term, which is basically just getting hit after you've already landed on knockdown. Notice that she gets up a lot faster when she's OTG. It takes less damage, can tech sooner, technically it can tech sooner. So basically, it's a bit of a trade-off, and you're invincible during the get-up animation. So you basically trade earlier invincibility for later invincibility when you do ground tech. There's really a lot to discuss. I'm probably missing some things, a lot of things, but I think I'll just cut it off. Oh, yes, I forgot. So that meter up at the top next to burst, I'm calling that the dynamic meter. I'm sure most of you have been wondering what the hell that is. Basically, you don't have to worry about it. That's not true. You don't have to worry about it if you're actually being aggressive. That meter only exists to encourage aggressive play. Basically, if you're being a big coward and constantly running away, notice that that meter is now draining for me. And if I get it low enough, I'm actually going to set that and just drain my opponent's meter, and okay, so I've done some damage to them. Now if I keep running away, or various things can drain the meter, dodging away, jumping away, even certain moves if you do them in the opposite direction. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, that's a thing. Reversals. It's a DMC thing, but for those of you who care, it's a thing. Now, there you go. Notice that because I was far enough into the blue, my opponent recovered health and meter. So you don't want that to happen, so you want to play aggressively. You know, you have quite a bit of leeway on that, and it's really easy to keep that bar in the red. But as long as you and your opponent are both in red, you don't have to care about it. It only exists to make sure that both players are being aggressive and not just running away and dodging constantly. Um, on the other hand, or actually, it is also a win condition technically if on a timeout. So on timeout, both that and health are considered. Basically, they're added together. For the most part, both players should pretty much be at max on that meter, so health will most likely be the deciding factor. But if not, then, you know, that also comes into play. I only put that there because I was worried about the fact that because you have so much freedom of movement in this game, and like even like attacks have. Wait, hold on, I'm bad at this. There we go. I reversed it. Yeah, like even attacks have movement options. And you can do stuff with it. So it's probably really easy to just avoid getting hit by just being a big coward the whole time. Which is why I put that bar there. That's the only reason it's there. So basically don't worry about it. I don't think there's anything else to say, or there is, I'm sure, just... Yeah, I think I'm done. Alright, cool, thanks. Later.